Hello and welcome back to the Greenhorn Photo Taker. Today we continue the inspiration series and talk about Nick Carver. Nick gets mad respect for me, and I still remember the first time I watched one of his videos on his channel. I was giddy with excitement. He was out in the desert, he was light painting cactuses, and what really caught my eye was he was having so much fun with what he was doing. And that's what made me fall in love with his channel in the first place. But of course, that initial excitement turns into real awe when you realize how good of a photographer he is. So two aspects of his channel that I want to talk about today. One, his gear series, a talking head type of series with a wonderful name, Behind the Glass with a Glass. And then his on location photography series as well, where he could go through a series of desert landscapes, or you could find them in front of a convenience store or post office, at 6:30 a.m. California time. Behind the Glass with a Glass, like I said, is really all about gear and film photography. But I still love it. I know film photography is a niche and I've never even tried it, but he just has a way of talking through various issues or equipment related excitement, or what film to use. And I think it just helps me more broadly understand where photography came from, and maybe that's why I love it. He also has one particular video that I found extremely enjoyable, and it was really about photo manipulation and how far is too far. And his take, which I think is my take too, do whatever the heck you want, just be upfront about it. But I think what was more interesting was when he talked about his own way of working through it. For instance, he would happily pay a truck driver $20 to move his 18-wheeler out of the way in order to photograph a liquor store from across the street. But if that liquor store had a messy garbage can in front of it, there is no way he would move that garbage can. Another example he had was at a specific donut shop. He wanted the donut sign lit up. It was a dawn type of photo shoot, and he thought it looked great with the storefront lit up and the donut sign lit up with the backdrop of really like the morning blue hour. But right before he was about to snap his shot, the donut sign automatically went off. And he said he would never think about going into the store and asking the owner to put it on for 5 minutes. He didn't use these words, but I thought of it as maintaining the purity of the scene. And for me, I feel that tug of myself sometimes when I'm out in a landscape and I'm taking a shot and there are weeds right in front of me in my foreground. There are times when I want to rip them out or move a stick. And I sometimes I have moved sticks, absolutely. But I draw the line at like breaking things or killing something, meaning the vegetation. But does that make any sense? I don't know. I think we each had our own journey and each have our own way of doing things. And as long as we're upfront, it's okay. As an urban landscape photographer, Nick really shines here, I think. So he will, pass by stores that we all see on our daily commutes, whether it's a post office or the donut shop, like I said, or a liquor store, and he'll see something about that composition. It's almost always straight on, right in front of the store, but with the moody light, usually at dawn or dusk, along with the storefront lit up. It just has this magical way of appearing on the screen. And it especially lends itself to the large format film that he uses. So for example, the liquor store video was one of the best videos ever on YouTube, in my opinion. And the resulting picture, from across the street in the dark, you could see the shop owner sitting there, probably reading his paper. And then next to him, you can still pick out advertisements, the various names of potato chip brands. It just set the scene so perfectly. It was mesmerizing to me. I really hope you check out his channel. So today I introduce histogram and hops. my version of Behind the Glass with a Glass, and we're going to talk about my experience in purchasing a new, let's call it a photography backpack. I thought of some other interesting names instead of hops and histogram. How does a focal point and fermentation sound? How does for love of the craft with a craft suit you? That's too much of a copy off of Nick. What about mouthfeel and metering? Or perhaps time-lapse and turbidity? I think I made the right choice with histogram and hops, but you let me know if you like one of the other ones better, or if there's a better name out there too that I can't think of. And once we're done with this, we'll go in the field somewhere in Jefferson and try to try to be inspired by Nick's landscape urban photography. To join us on our talk today is Hopzilla from Lawson's out of Vermont. It's a 8.7% ABV double IPA. Let me read this to you. Our monster of an IPA will make you pucker up. Loaded with high alpha, US grown hops, this brawny dry hopped ale will terrorize your taste buds, yet has enough malt backtone to balance a fierce bitterness. Lawson's Finest Liquids is a family-owned, award-winning brewery located in the picturesque Mad River Valley. I had this in early January. I picked it up at my local liquor store and absolutely loved it. But actually yesterday I was out at a falconry excursion. Got to hold some owls. Got to catch some Harris hawks as they flew around the field and landed on your arm. It was really remarkable. But on the way home, I stopped at a local tap house, and they had these for sale, so I picked one up. I'm a huge IPA fan, especially, I guess two kinds. I really enjoy anything bitter, and I'm a real sucker for anything hazy with that citrusy IPA feel as well. So let's give this a shot. Straight from the Green Mountains to your head. Hopzilla. Cheers. Okay. Beer Advocate rates this at 95%. It's definitely hazy. It's got a nice, thick and robust head. Let's see. I'm not a beer snob, so I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, it's got a bit like, I'd say piney type of smell, a little sweet and piney. I'll read what an expert says about it when I'm done. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. So this is an Imperial IPA, and you can taste the alcohol. You can tell it's more alcohol than your average 5 or 6%er, but it's not overwhelming. But there is definitely hints of it there. I taste a little bit of fruit. Yeah, that's really all I know. I just like the taste. So let's see what an expert might say about this. It pours a hazy golden amber orange color with a dense creamy white foam head. Moderate aromas of toasty bready malt. Oh, I said this. Earthy piney hops. I got the pine. And some grapefruity citrus and pineapple tropical fruit. That sounds exactly right. Then it goes on. It's I don't know how anyone gets this. All right. He tastes citrus, pineapple, passion fruit, mango, grapefruit, orange, lemon peel, and caramelly malt with an earthy, herbal, grassy, resinous pine. I don't know if anyone can taste that from a beer. God bless them. But citrus and pine and delicious is this Hopzilla. Okay, so I was in the market for a new backpack. I love my Love Pro. This was my first ever photography backpack. It was relatively inexpensive. I think it was $140 when I picked it up at the time. And I did not do a lot of research. It was really a cost thing for me. I purchased the Sony A6600 and a couple of lenses and the entire kit that I need. And the budget was tight, so I just needed something that I could take hiking and still have access to. So the pros of this backpack are ample space, plenty of zippers and pockets. It's very durable. Like there's some scratches around if you look closely, but really nothing that has held up, nothing that hasn't held up. But I have some issues with it. One, it only opens from the side. So I often struggled with being in the field and having to open it up from the side. You realize you're on the wrong side, or your lens is on the other side, then you gotta zip it up, turn it over, and do it all again. And I tried different methods. Apparently I'm an idiot. I tried different methods of remembering which side had which lens. For instance, this, see, I already forget. For instance, see, this black tag means that's where my camera body is. But even then, if you're in the field and doing something quick, I would often just put the camera body on the other side to hide it from the elements in order to take the shot. And then all of a sudden, all the planning goes to waste. The other problem with this is it didn't really have any place for a tripod that was comfortable. So I tried hooking it on the back through this sleeve, which is not meant for tripods, and putting the legs in here and strapping them down with some carabiners across the top. But it would often move, and it would, once it hit a tree branch as I'm hiking, everything would be thrown out of whack. So then I also tried them on in these pockets, and strapped them down, and that was better, but it felt a little imbalanced. And my final complaint was when the pack was heavy, this got very uncomfortable. The waist straps are really just thin, regular straps, so almost no weight was transferred to your hip. But this is not a complaint session. I like this backpack a lot, and I will definitely still use it, especially on shorter day hikes. One of the good things about it is the easy access. When you do want that type of access, right? If I'm not with my tripod and I'm just walking around, the ability to swing it off the side of your hip, open it up and take the camera out was very useful. And these thin straps here also worked pretty well for that Peak Design clip that allowed the camera to go in here. So anyway, I was in the market for a new backpack. And I didn't mind spending a little bit of money on it this time. I wanted to find something that would last forever, or at least for a couple of years. So I did my research on YouTube. I watched Chris and Jordan. I watched Thomas Eaton, and kept on narrowing down my choices. I finally narrowed it down to a Kickstarter one. I think it's out of Germany. Don't quote me on that. Somewhere in Europe. The Cozy Starter. And for some reason, I didn't really pay attention to the size. And the one that they had was a 44 liter. And I actually tried to purchase it, and something failed. And I'm glad it did, because 44 liters is just way too much. This one here is only 24 liters. So the idea of needing 44 liters for, mirrorless APS-C when I'm not actually overnight camping is preposterous. So I'm glad that didn't work out. But it sent me down another path, and I ended up with the Shimoda Exlpore version 2. This is the 30 liter version. But I do have, I don't want to call it a complaint, but I do have something I want to talk about. In searching backpacks, this came up as a wonderfully rated backpack. It came out last summer, also with a Kickstarter campaign. But there are literally scores of reviews out there from these really small channels, some of them with as little as 200 subscribers for this backpack. A lot of people receive their backpacks for free and then perform the review on it. So, not calling integrity into question, I will speak glowingly about this in a second. It really is a nice backpack. But the process really turned me off. It's difficult to say bad things about gear, especially gear. This costs $400, $380. So if I receive something for free with a retail value of $380, I am naturally going to kind of gloss over any of the pain points that I have with it. So that just turned me off a bit. And I had noticed that only after I clicked buy. I wonder if it would have changed my mind in the long run. I don't think so, but it did leave a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, so I wanted to just warn you of that yourself. Be careful of those reviews out there. You never know which ones are paid for. You never know which ones have just free gear and are not paid for, but would influence a reviewer anyway. So Chris and Jordan on DP Review TV love this backpack. It was really what turned me onto it. And then a couple of other folks too just had glowing things to say about it. And the green color really struck me as something that I would like. So this is incredibly sturdy, but honestly I think it's too much pack for me in terms of it's such overkill. I was trying to find my spare battery today to use in this recording, and it took me 4 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes to find it. There are so many side pockets and different areas to store things that I don't know if a casual, day hiker, photographer would ever need something of this caliber. So just be wary there too. Like I was fooled into thinking that I needed the best, and I absolutely do not. It's a wonderful pack, but overkill for a photographer like myself, a photo taker like myself. So what turned me onto this? One, it opens up from the back, so I can lay this on the ground and then open the entire thing, and then my entire lens lineup is here. Very easy to get to. I also wanted something that was extremely comfortable, and everyone who reviewed this loved these thick straps, and I can attest you could wear this for quite some time and not feel the weight. I'll show it to you in a second, but there's also a very large waist strap that velcros in here that snugs those hips really tightly if you wanted to, and you could really feel that weight transfer off your shoulders into your hips, and that would really help for one of these 10-12 mile hiking days, which I've not really been able to do with the old pack. It was just too uncomfortable. It holds a water bladder, it holds a 15-inch laptop, and there are, like I said, so many pockets. This one here is where the tripod will go. If I didn't want to use a water bladder, I'd take one out of this side and just put some water in here as well. Or a second tripod. Hopefully I never become one of the people that walk around with 2 tripods, but you never know. And there's just a ton of storage in here to boot. So this is, like I said, the 30 liter. It comes in 25 liter and 35 liter. I guess what people say too, if you're getting the 25 liter, it doesn't fit larger laptops, so just be careful of that. Anyway, so that was my story. I've only used it for about a week. I love the look. I love the leather, they're not tassels, but the leather strapping on each zipper. Extremely well made, extremely comfortable. And the back, hopefully, is breathable. The cozy one that I wanted to buy had a great breathable back. This one I think will be adequate, but perhaps not as breathable. It does have mesh to it. It's padded and it has these ventilation lines. That'll keep you, I guess, a little bit cooler, but pretty standard when it comes to the cooling on the back. And the strap, there were just so many pockets on the straps, lashings on the straps, both sides. You can fit your phone in this case. You can strap whatever you want to it. It's very durable. It's got more than one way to carry it, which I like here. So yeah, it's a good backpack. Oh, it really is good. So I got lucky. The moral of the story, I think, is do your research well. A lot of the reviews out there may be biased without the user truly knowing it. Miley agrees. So we're gonna head out to somewhere in Jefferson. I think I have a bar or two I want to photograph in Nick Carver style. I'm not sure where I am going yet, but I will see you there. Okay, it is several weeks later, and I've been racking my brain on how to try to, have Nick inspire me when it comes to photography of some type of structure. And nothing really got me excited. There's a few bars in town that I think might look good. But at the other hand, maybe they don't. And then just the thought of standing out in front of them at 7 a.m., I'll be honest, it did shy me away a bit. So maybe I'll get the courage to do that one day. But I don't think that would have worked anyway. So then I got me to thinking, like, what else would I like to photograph when it comes to a structure? And I eventually, of course, thought of the Delaware water gap and some of the old structures that were from the days before it was a national park recreation area, when farmers and homeowners were unceremoniously removed from these homes. So there's a lot of structures left, like the one behind me. So I'm wondering if I could find a way to photograph this. And I might be jumping the gun a bit, because in my head I had pictured this as a kind of like a sunset, red, pink sky type of location. But I kept on getting antsy and antsy, and nothing worked out. And now I've convinced myself that this flat look for this dilapidated house might be the way to go. Sunset is about 45 minutes away. And I thought this dreary, cloudy day would match the beat up look of this old building. So I'll get set up and look for a composition. Should be interesting, should be fun. You know, Nick does this in large format, so looking at his pictures and all the details, I know I can't mimic that. But it is really interesting, so I'm looking forward to it. So Nick typically ends up shooting straight on in front of his subject. But I think I like this angled look in this case better. One, you can see much more of the structure itself, and there is nook and cranny goodness on both sides. On the left, you have the separate, almost basement-like structure with this brick foundation, and on the right, you can see through into the structure where there used to be doors and broken windows. In addition, behind the structure, you can see an operational working farm. And I definitely want to exclude that and hide that behind the building itself. So one I'm seeing that I really love, I can see through certain sections of the structure straight through it. Meaning if I'm looking at a window, I can see throughout a window as well in the back wall. Or there's even a place in the attic, or the top floor at least, where I'm looking through an attic vent and I can see a little bit of daylight through the attic roof on the other side. All right, I've taken a few shots. The one I'm trying to make work is at f9, ISO 100, and at 1/4 of a second. That's where my histogram looks the best to capture as much detail. But I'm also going to over and underexpose as well to see if any of those types of changes helps me. Because again, I'm really worried about being able to recover some of those shadows. And APC cameras just don't have that dynamic range. So I'll take a couple shots. So how did I do? I think this worked. A couple of things that stand out to me. One, the sky did have a little bit of character. I did have to work with the contrast a bit and work with the shadows and highlights, but I was able to tease something out that just wasn't completely gray, and I think that really made the difference for me.
As for the structure itself, I love being able to see through the window. You can't see it unless you call it out, but I love being able to see through the attic. And the trees on the right and on the left kind of just like bookcase the building as well. And I think this whole scene works quite well. So I'm very happy to have been here. There's graffiti, which I did not want to edit out. I think it adds to the scene. And just this, it looks like it could be really in the middle of nowhere and not set in northern New Jersey. So I would call it a success. So there you have it. Nick Carver in the Delaware Water Gap. Well, at least something 20% of Nick. So I love Nick. He is my favorite YouTuber at the moment. And like I mentioned earlier, it's because of really two things. One, he loves what he does. Two, he posts when he has content. And three, I really am called to his work. He's passionate about it, and much of what he does, I can see the style he's going for, and I enjoy it myself. One day I will try to emulate his light painting in the desert with the saguaro trees. That was something spectacular that I would love to do one day in my own way. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Get out and explore.